I think we were just like, we got such good response for the anchor book from both global and domestic institutional investors. We tried our best to put this together. And I think, as I said earlier, I think this is great to see. I think it's great for Zomato, it's great for the Indian startup ecosystem. And I think in addition to the excitement, it also puts a lot of responsibility on us. And that's what we are also excited about.
Of course, there'll be a lot more responsibility now. It's also the beginning of a new era as such. But I wanted to just go more into the fact that there are 186 investors. What happened? Like the roadshows, did you tell them that we will not allocate, or we would not want to allocate more than 3 to 4% a piece? What was the thinking? Or you were just so overwhelmed you felt you wanted to give something to everybody?
I think there are a great set of investors and partners we've got on board, and actually we want to make sure that we actually do the right thing for Zomato and for them as well. And again, I think we hadn't pre-decided anything when we went into the roadshows. We went into the roadshows making sure we interact with each one of them and share with them what we're building, exactly what we're building and what we're trying to do. And I think based on that, they would make the right call, whether Zomato makes sense for them as an investment. And I think here we are. We of course have new to Indian public market global tech investors like Tiger Global, Dragoneer, Alkion, D1, Altimeter coming in. We also have leading global superannuation and pension funds like Government of Singapore, Canadian Pension Plan, Ontario, ADIA, UK superannuation. We also have global multi-platform mutual funds and like Capital Group, BlackRock, Fidelity, Bailey Gifford, T. Rowe Price. So again, you can see that there are different types of investors. We also, of course, have marquee domestic institutional investors like SBI Mutual Fund, HDFC Mutual Fund, ICICI Pru Mutual Fund, and many more in the country. So different categories and sets and characteristics of investors. And we just want to make sure that we're able to get all the right partners on board for Zomato.
Okay. So you've got a high pedigree of investors, something you've been talking about, and for you it must be heartening that you've got it at the higher band, the higher price band. Now that's over 4,100 crore rupees done. Now, as far as the retail investors go, over the last couple of days, there have been apprehensions that how will the retail investor make money from the Zomato stock? Can we talk about that again? Because since the last interview, for example, there are concerns that will we see excessive cash burn into new businesses like e-grocery that you've been talking about?
As I said earlier as well, the retail investors are smart and they will make the right decision for themselves. I think for us, there are two parts to the story. One is, of course, the fact that there is a current strength of the business that we have and the large future opportunity that lies in front of us. There's so much more that can come from restaurant food consumption compared to what we do today, that there's a large opportunity we have to build out, and that's is what exciting. And over the last 8 quarters, we've seen how unit economics have panned out much better, given the market has evolved, given the restaurants are operating and growing so well. Customers have understood the value and the convenience that food delivery brings to them. So I think there's a lot to be done. And in addition to starting off and trying out a few new experiments like grocery for us, food is going to be core to us. Food delivery, dining out, our raw material supply business, which is hyper pure, we will continue to invest and build those core businesses while we try things like grocery, and we'll see how it pans out.
For grocery, now, Zomato did attempt it last year. Yes, it might have been a response to the COVID-19 and the lockdown, all of that. But the fact is, Gaurav, that Zomato is a late entrant to grocery, right? You don't have first mover advantage the way maybe a Reliance Retail does, or an Amazon does, or Flipkart does, or even Swiggy does. How will you do it differently this time around? And why will someone come on Zomato? What will be the differentiator?
The whole idea of doing this pilot is actually to understand what model works well. And to be honest, I think there is nothing like a late entrant to grocery right now. I think it is so small. Online grocery, in spite of the fact that offline grocery is such a big market in India, online grocery market is even like lesser than food delivery in India today, which tells us that nobody till now has figured out the right model or scaled it as yet. So I don't think it's late. I think everybody's looking for the right answers just like us. And that's why we are actually doing what we're doing right now.
You talked about unit economics, and yes, they turned positive. In fact, even before the draft red herring perspective for this IPO was filed. What the markets will want to know is that are you going to be as conscientious about unit economics going forward because you want to enter new markets, you want to look at inorganic growth?
We will continue to build the business like we have. I think we are very excited with the IPO, but I think it won't change how we operate, how we build the business. There is a repeat part of our business, which is, of course, maturing over a period of time with better unit economics. There's a new part of our business, which is new customers coming into food delivery, where we need to invest to change behavior for many new customers and improve frequency of food delivery. And that will continue like earlier as well. So I think the mix of those will determine how it pans out in the future. And I think if we have more and more new customers who can come into the category, it's only a good thing for the category. It's not a bad thing.
And you will enter new geographies.
We're very focused on India, Neta, right now. There's huge opportunity, and that's what we focus on building right now.
Okay. I want to now ask you and just go a little beyond all of this and ask you, I've been reading a lot of the old Zomato blogs, and there is one common theme that I kept hearing about being mentioned by Dipinder Goyal when he would write a blog, and that is, we are 1% done. Is Zomato still 1% done today?
Absolutely. Always.
You're still 1% done. We're talking after the kind of anchor book response you've seen, how you're creating history by going on the Lal Street as the first unicorn.
Neither it is just the beginning. There's so much more that needs to be done in terms of the opportunity in front of us. Very, very sure we're just 1% done.
So what else can be, you don't have to tell me the remaining 99%, but going forward, what is it? Like you talk about, for example, a super app for food.
So even in the food delivery business, even in the dining out business, even in the hyper business, just very early days. Again, I'll ask this question to everyone, to you and everyone who's watching this, as to how many meals in a month do you actually consume from a restaurant versus home? And you will get the answer. There are very few even today for India. So there's so much more to be done.
But that's very interesting because even though you talk about the gap that exists in India versus, let's say, in America or even in China or the UK, the fact is Zomato is simultaneously seeking a valuation which will help it break into the top 5 of the food tech listed companies. So you, on one hand, do talk about the fact there's such a long way to go to catch up, but on the other hand, you want a valuation which puts you towards the top part of the pecking order.
And I think that is what makes it very interesting. I think we might seem like a large business, but we are in like a growth phase, like any small business would be, because of the opportunity in front of us. And that's why India is so unique, Nandara, compared to international markets. I think the number of people transacting online now, I think the numbers are mind-boggling compared to any other country outside. So as this evolves, even though we might have captured a decent size opportunity in the last 5 years, it is still skimming the surface right now because of what lies in front of us, and that is what makes India unique.
Because the order value will also need to go up, right?
Not just the order value. I think the number of transactions. So many people still don't consume from restaurants at all or enough, right? So if you're consuming 4 or 5 meals from a restaurant today, imagine if like 200, 300, 400 million people start consuming 10 to 15 meals a month from a restaurant, compared to just let's say 40 million people doing that on an average like 2-3 times a month. It's a huge delta. And I think, of course, there's a lot that needs to be solved to get there. But I think it was very difficult to say 4 years back where we will land up in 4 years and what all we'll be able to solve. Similar to that, as we move along into this opportunity, we'll see what all we need to solve for to capture this large opportunity.
Food, you work on your model and simultaneously launch a marketplace for e-grocery. Is Zomato also harboring ambitions of being a serious B2B player?
From a B2B perspective, we are very focused on restaurants right now, as you know. Our Hyperpure business, which is about supplying raw materials to restaurants, is actually making a big difference there because we're able to help restaurants procure good quality raw materials at very competitive prices and even communicate to customers that these restaurants use good quality raw materials. So they don't have to deal with 30 different or 40 different vendors. They can actually work with Zomato, order everything online. So I think that is one space we're working on. And of course, we need to build it out to actually be able to cater to more and more restaurants in the future.
Gaurav, I've asked you this before, but I'm going to try again. In the red herring prospectus, there is a material update which has been given of Zomato, starting a subsidiary going to be asking for a payment aggregator license. What is the rationale behind that? I've done my research now, and I've seen you did experiment with fintech models in the past, whether it was diners paying in the restaurant. You attempted it in UAE as well. You did it in India too.
So again, payments is a very integral part of the business that we do today, which is food delivery and even dining out. For example, on food delivery, of course, you pay online. Most of our transactions happen online today. They're prepaid. Even in dining out as a pro member, you can actually pay through Zomato to avail the offer. So it's a very integral part of what we're doing. And as part of building that payment stack for our core business, this is what we need to do. And that's why we actually applied for what you mentioned just now.
So how can this be scaled up?
Payments. So again, payments, as more and more customers come in, we will actually enable them to transact for any transaction onto Zomato that they have to do happens through online payments. So it's already part of the core business that we're building, which is food.
Okay, so there will not be a
in spite of you trying again, there's nothing more that I can...
You will not look at fintech in a big way.
So again, as I said, I think there's nothing more that I can share with you right now. And it is part of our core food business that we're building.
Okay. You've done so many roadshows. Look at the response that you've got. Now, can I ask you that when you were, meeting with potential investors, this, that, and the other, what were some of the common questions or the common risks that were being perceived by them?
I think the questions, of course, are about in terms of the opportunity in front of us, what all do we need to do? Because India is a very large country. Right? I think we are already present in 500 cities today. And the key point there is, how do we get more and more people to try out services like food delivery, even dining out? And I think it's great to see what we've been able to do in the last 5 years, but I think it'll be interesting to see how much can we penetrate this further going forward. So I think there were very interesting conversations around that. But I can tell you, I think the roadshow conversations were very interesting, very enriching for us as well. And it was great to see so much common understanding of what we are building. Because there are so many global benchmarks that are out there, and also because I think people have been watching what's happening in India closely. We always talked about having so many people in the country, but now so many people are doing online transactions, and I must say, COVID has accelerated all of that for not just our business but a lot of businesses. So I think people are, I would say, anxiously excited as to where this can go, how big this could become, and not just for Zomato. I think most online business in India.
And what about discounts and the cost of customer acquisition? Will it be business as usual for Zomato? You're going to continue with the discounts and all of that?
So it will be business as usual for Zomato. I think I'll be very excited with the IPO, as I said, but we will continue to do business like we've always done. Food delivery or ordering from restaurants or dining at restaurants is a behavior change if you want people to do it more frequently. And when that happens, you have to have a trigger for customers. So giving subsidies to new customers, I think it's an important trigger that helps them adopt a new behavior or a category. And we'll continue to do that, because once a customer orders food or dines out at a restaurant 3-4 times, it becomes part of their life, becomes part of the habit. But you need to guide them and get them to get to that point. And we'll continue to do that.
Okay. You're also getting a scarcity premium in India? That's what folks in Reddit are talking about.
So I'm sure they know more about it than I do. I think we are getting what we are getting for our strength of the business today and the opportunity in front of us.
Before I let you go, I did the 1% analogy that Dipinder Goyal writes a lot about in the Zomato blogs. But if I were to ask you that, if the Zomato journey is like a 5-course meal, what course are you on?
So let me put it some other way, right? If Zomato was a movie, you've just seen the trailer. The movie hasn't even started.
Acha, picture baki hai. Now, Dipinder Goyal has tweeted that he is stress eating and ordered a triple breakfast. What did you order on Zomato, Gaurav?
A lot of things. I think I'm glad to see all the choices that we have. So there's never the other choices.